All right, guys, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. So we got to dig in on a topic here, Mike, that today, you see Justin Thomas is struggling, and that's just an example. Everyone, looks from the PGA Tour all the way down to us. We go through these slumps, right? And I'm doing it myself.
Yes,
I had a rough week.
Yep.
Yeah, last week after playing some of my best golf. I got my handicap down for the first time into single digits, and then I had a really rough week, and it sparked me to kind of do a little bit of research and recalibrating when it comes to what I should expect, how I should expect to play. And I'm hoping that a certain degree of this is relatable to you guys and helps you if you're slumping. And if you're not slumping right now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's going to happen again. It happens to everybody. But I think Justin Thomas is the perfect example of it glaringly in our face of how it can happen to the best players in the world. So we're going to dive into our own personal experience. I'm going to talk about handicaps, how to get out of it, how to rethink it. We even have a poll that we put up that we polled you guys a little bit on how this affects you and whether you'd rather, from a good round or a bad round, which one makes you a better golfer. We'll get into that in a moment. But let's first talk about JT. I mean, your guy's struggling.
Yeah, he's struggling hard. But, like you said before, they all go through it. I mean, they get hot. But JT's been consistent throughout his career. So this is kind of like people are raising their eyebrows a little bit. That's why his buddies are getting asked about it. He's getting asked about it. I think it's just like anything else, especially in golf, though. And like you said, you're going through it now. Something just changes, I think. And and you just can't figure it out. And you try to work it out. You try to work through the kinks. But eventually, these guys are so good, they will break through it. I mean, it stinks to see him. Shot 82 on round one of the Open.
Yeah.
He bounced back with the 71 even par the next day, but it's still not going to get the job done if you're going to try to contend in a major. I personally think he'll be back. Like all these guys, Jason Day, Jordan Spieth, they all go through their struggles.
Yeah, but look at a guy like Day. How long his struggle lasted.
His took a while.
I'm just glad to see him back in it. But he was. I mean, there was injuries and things like that come into play. Don't forget that even at the amateur level, and at just the weekend hack level, just people are enjoying. Your body goes through things too.
Yeah.
You have moments of less flexibility and things like that. But JT, I think why it's hitting everyone so hard is because he, for so long, was always in the conversation. And I think this is a blip on the radar long-term for JT.
Yeah.
But to have him not even right now, he's not even on the bubble for the Ryder Cup. He's going to have to rely on something really big happening to make it enough of a case for a captain's pick for Zach Johnson.
It sounded like ZJ was going to pick him in an interview.
It did.
They interviewed him, and just like the way he was trending.
Yeah.
Talking about how he needs that type of person on a team. Like you could sense, like just watching him, like, oh yeah, Zach's gonna pick him, no doubt.
Well, you know what the thing is, and this is like where again, a lot of it becomes a mental game at some point. JT's quote, he said, I love the team events, I thrive on them, I just enjoy playing with a partner could kind of ease me a little bit and relax me. So okay, I get it. He's saying that like a lot of where he's at and some of the issue that he's having is the pressure. I understand that, but to me, like, if Zach Johnson was to pick him right now, you're picking him really just based on his way past performance, not his current form at all.
Totally.
And
but
to
do you
me,
want that?
That's what I'm saying. Does that put even more pressure on Justin Thomas to be like, now I really got to perform because I'm playing for my teammates. It's not just myself. I'm going to hang my head if I don't play well.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's going to be I think, like I said, I think he's going to pick him, but I think a lot of people are going to disagree with it. Unless he steps up his game and shows something in like the last stretch.
We'll have to see. He's going to have to do something because right now he's not even making it into the FedEx Cup playoffs.
No, he's playing at the 3M.
His season could end in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
He's playing at the 3M this week. He just opted into it to try to get into the playoffs.
Can you imagine?
But again, we saw that with Ricky not too long ago. We saw that with a couple of other of his buddies. It just happens.
Well, and this is where, too, like JT had said, and I'm paraphrasing, but in a post-round interview, he said, listen, I still feel like I'm hitting shots like one of the greatest players in the world, which no matter what, if he's got a little bit of a slump, you can't argue that he's not one of the greatest in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm there with him on that. But he said it's just these little things, like it gets around the green and he'll lose a couple strokes, like mental errors and stuff. And I think it's a compounding effect of pressure.
I think so.
Wanting so badly to be back in the conversation.
It's so funny you say that because with a lot of these guys, we just look at like the game. Maybe he's got to go work on putting, and then they start looking at stats. Where is he struggling? It could be it could be mental. It could be problems at home. It could be anything with these guys. They're on the road all the time. There's so much that goes on It could be anything, and you have to kind of bring it all back in. I keep saying this. I mean, I've said this before. It's probably the hardest job in the world to be a PGA Tour player.
It really is.
And just keep it in focus.
It just shows you, and it goes back to like what I say often is like how much respect I have for a guy like Tiger who was just so good for so long.
Yeah.
It's an anomaly. It is not the way it is from, you know what I mean? Even, I think even like Rory right now, you know, Scottie Scheffler's been on an absolute tear for the last year and a half, but I'm thinking career-wise, a guy like Rory is another anomaly. It's just, it doesn't happen that often. And another example of this is look at Brian Harmon, right?
Yeah.
Guy who went 6-year stretch and then absolutely dominated at the Open. And sometimes too, like we've talked about this before with guests we've had on the show, like about these guys working on just getting 1% better. And with Harmon, you know, I can't attribute all of it to this, obviously, but they were asking about what some of the changes were. And two things, like one was an equipment change. He said he switched back to Titleist because he wanted, you know, specifically with mine, these windy, tough majors. He wanted to have a little bit more of that penetrating ball flight, and clearly it worked. You could say what you will, you know, as far as brand loyalty, but that helped him. And the other thing was a simple little change. He said he working with a different putting mirror. Just how he was getting his eyes over the ball. I mean, it's the slightest little thing, and he felt almost like he was saying like he was like almost hitting like a draw shot on his putts instead of like a fade. Like I mean, it's minute just the way you come across it.
Right.
But those things made that big change. But let's bring this back and talk about how we can kind of learn something from this. We all know these things. We all know the pros are going to go through slumps and things like that. But we want to play better, and more importantly, we don't want to have it ruin our day when we don't play well. And I relate this because I see JT's pressure. Obviously, this is his career. This is where he needs to play well. It's his livelihood. You know, he's set for life with the money he has, but you get what I'm saying. The way I can relate to that is we've had a couple of big trips this year. I'm sure most of the people out there watching and listening have, you know, occasionally put together a big trip, or they've got on their calendar a course they've been dying to play. And the pressure starts to mount. It's like, I really don't want to, quote unquote, spoil this or ruin this by playing poorly, right?
Totally.
And for us, you know, we've had the road to Pine Valley. We've been playing some incredible golf courses. And I'll be honest with you, these courses are so exclusive. I'm playing with these fully in mind. Like, Mike, this might be the first and last time I play this course.
Right. That's true.
And that puts pressure for me because I want to play well. So I've been playing well, and then I had two really tough rounds this last week. We played incredible week of golf. We played Matita and we played Somerset Hills.
Yeah,
and no doubt, I'm not going to take away how much fun we had out there. All those things, because I've calibrated my mind enough to know that like I'm going to have fun, and I'm not going to be the guy throwing golf clubs and just ruining my day. But I didn't play particularly well, so I put this poll up on the YouTube page, and I said, which do you think makes you a better golfer? Now, I'm not saying which one you enjoy more. I'm saying which one do you think makes you a better golfer? A good round of golf, which is a confidence builder, or a bad round of golf, which is a learning experience? And I thought the response is pretty interesting. It's heavily weighed on the good round of golf. A lot of and understandably so. I think I was playing well in Myrtle Beach, and I think it was a compounding thing there where I started, as I play better, I find I trust my swing more.
Yep.
And I find I'm doing less overthinking out there, and I start to get a little bit more comfortable, and I can put a more aggressive swing on the ball, less deceleration, less second guessing my club selection when I'm playing well. What would you think? What's the answer for you in your case?
I think for me, it's I would be with the majority because it's the confidence thing. When I'm playing well, I usually will walk off the course just like eager to come back to it. Whereas, and I guess this can also go into like, if you're on the other side of the coin, if you said, you know, I like a bad round because I'll go and learn from it. I think it comes down to the people who are willing to go and learn at it. You know, I got a feeling like, oh, I had a crappy 2 rounds. Forget it. I'm going to give up golf for 3 weeks, and I'll just come back to it, and you'll know you won't change anything. The only thing you change was you just try to clear your head a little.
Right.
And you know, I just think like it comes down to the right person for it. So if you're going to be committed and go and work on that, then I could see how valuable that'll be.
I couldn't agree with you more. It really just depends on if you're willing to accept the medicine and go out there and work on it. And really, that's where I look at it like short term and long term. In the short term, I think a good round is the better play because it's a confidence builder for your next round. In the long term, I think the bad round makes me a better golfer because this past week, for example, I lost a ton of strokes in greenside bunkers. I used to have a lot of confidence on my greenside bunkers. It went away. Wherever it went, who knows? But again, things happen, and something clearly changed in my technique. And I think part of that comes from not practicing it enough, not thinking about it. But now, losing so many strokes, I can't tell you how many times I would either not quite get it up and out of the bunker because I'm worried about these fast greens we've been playing, or blading it over the green.
Right over, yep.
Right. And then now, I had a par 5. I was in a greenside bunker in 2, and I made a double bogey. You can't do that. You can't do that. So that was my recalibration of saying, it's in my face. It's glaring at me. I either face this down and use this as a learning experience and do something about it, or I don't, and I stay at my current level. So this may not help me on my very next round or the round after that, but long term, it's going to help. So what I did was I went in, I did a deep dive. I hyper-focused. I watched tons of YouTube videos just as a refresher on greenside bunkers, how to play them, different types of sand, hard sand, soft sand. I got my 60-degree wedge out. Now, I will say, I wish I had a way to practice it in the sand. I don't have a practice facility that it's just at my access like that. Some of these great clubs we've been playing, if you're a member there, it's incredible that you have that access, and they've got some great facilities. But I figured, if nothing else, I got into the sim we have here. It's not sand, but I practiced the shots, opening up the club face, getting a little bit steeper, changing my... And I felt like, okay, I'm starting to understand this. Now I'm excited to get back out there and hit, get one in a bunker and give me a shot at it.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is like, I even, I like to dig in and just see what other guys are saying. Other guys have a suggestion. I'm on Reddit, looking at what people say, like, how do you practice your sand game? And during a practice round, a lot of guys say, listen, as long as you're not holding up the group behind you, throw a couple in a bunker, hit 3-4 bunker shots on a hole and move on. I don't think that's such a bad idea.
Because no one ever practiced sand shots.
Right.
Only time you hit a sand shot is when you're in the sand.
But this is the other thing, how we need to recalibrate our whole thinking. Like, I watched, speaking of the Open, I'm watching Brian Harman warm up for his final round. And here's a guy who's hitting dozens and dozens of shots on their short game practice facility around those greens. Now I'm thinking about us. We don't hit one of those before we go out.
No, right.
We hit the range, get a little bit loose, warmed up, and we go out. We don't hit those. Now, maybe some of you do, but you understand, the pros are putting in 8 hours a day. And I thought about this like this. It's also just the human body, right? And how we get accustomed to doing the same thing. If I crumpled up a piece of paper and put a garbage can over there, and I said, Mike, 10 shots at it, let's see how many you hit. And you do it, right? Maybe you hit 4. Now I say, spend the next hour doing that, right? And then we're going to come back and remeasure you on 10.
Yeah.
I guarantee you the second time you make more in.
Sure.
So I'm thinking like you have to recalibrate your expectation. You can't expect to hit a perfect or a great shot every time if you're not practicing it.
Yeah.
So for me, although it was really tough to shoot not great scores 2 times in a row, to have that as that glaring thing of saying like, this is what you need to work on, this is what you need to focus on, these are the holes in your game. And if you can get those better, you'll be a better golfer long term for it. It helps me kind of get over the bad round.
Yeah, and you got Baltus Roll upper in 3 weeks, so you better get over it.
Yeah.
But
they put a lot of bunkers on the lower, too.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree with that. And I wanted to ask you this question and like kind of fantasize for a little bit. Let's say an hour before your next round, and in a perfect world, you show up to this course and the practice facility has a bunker, a putting green, and a range. What's your warm-up going to be?
How much time do I have?
You have an hour.
If I had an hour, what I would do is I would start by just hitting a couple of balls to get my body loose in general on the range, right? Then I would love nothing more than to go over that short game, especially because one of the things is that we've been playing different courses.
Yep.
Every course, the sand is different. The greens are different. I would try to hit some of the shots that I'm going to see that day. So I would do a couple of greenside bunkers. I would do a couple of chips from the rough, a couple of tight lie chips, and just see, how am I hitting them today? And now just having that familiarity that like maybe on the second hole now I'm in a greenside bunker. I've been on the greenside
been
bunker
there
that
today.
day.
Yep.
You know, then I would
Roll.
hit some putts
Yeah.
and just get a feel for those greens and how they're going. And I think that's a way you see a lot of the pros warm up, and there's a reason
Dude,
for
that
it.
sounds like a good recipe for you. I see you going low if you do
Oh,
that.
I would love that. But
Yeah.
I'm also a guy who I know my body. I need to warm up.
Yeah, you need to warm
I
up.
have a lot of tightness in my back, and stretching is great. I stretch now every day a little bit just to stay generally loose.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel it. My first swing of the day versus my 10th are two different swings.
Yeah.
So I also have a function of having to physically warm my body. But for this, I mean, how much better I feel like you can perform by just getting a little bit of a feel for the conditions of the day. And that's what so many of these pros are doing. Brian Harmon warming up that day before the Sunday round of the Open wasn't working on any technique. Trust me, that guy
Right.
with a 5-stroke lead is not changing his technique.
not changing anything. Yeah.
He was saying, getting a feel for the conditions.
Mm-hmm.
If I hit, this low runner, how's that going to be in these wet,
Right.
rainy greens? If I hit something high, and he would just hit them over and over. And then now he goes out there, a couple minutes later, he's probably faced with a shot that he was just hitting in the practice facility, and he can do it. So I think that's important. But the other thing too is like from a mental game standpoint, and I'm saying this, hopefully it helps and relates to one of you out there, because it's been a help for my recalibration, because it can be a huge knock to confidence to have a couple bad rounds in a row. And that can create you feeling less confident and putting less good swings on the ball and stuff like that. So it's got to recalibrate. So two things come to mind. One, we had the round that we played with James Nicklaus, who's incredible. Korn Ferry Tour player. He's played on the PGA Tour in certain events. And his outlook is more, I learned more from his outlook on the game than I learned from his swing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what he told us out there is, he said, when you hit a bad shot, get accustomed to and get in the habit of saying, good.
Yep.
That little thing that says to your mind, instead of like, because I know how it is. You start hitting a bad shot too, and like now you start trying to do things you can't do. You swing less confidently. He said, for example, good. I hit it in the greenside bunker. That's an opportunity for me to practice that shot.
That. Yeah.
Good. I blew it past the hole on that putt. Now I know the green speeds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just, blowing smoke. It's not just whatever. It really does something different to your brain chemistry when you say good rather than hanging your head.
That makes sense, man.
And it's true.
It's
like we're out there. We're not playing for big money. We're out there. We're playing to get better.
Right.
So if you can hit a shot into a spot like, okay, good, I hit it in the fescue. I'm going to learn how to hit it out of the fescue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Good. I didn't get it out of the fescue. Now I know what I did wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
That changed a lot for me. The other thing that changed a lot for me was expectations of how we should score. Totally. Something changed in my mind when I started playing better golf this year, and I, for the first time ever, got down to a single handicap. All of a sudden, I'm expecting myself to be knocking on the door of 79 every time.
Mm-hmm.
I shot a couple rounds in the 70s. I'm expecting that.
Yeah, yeah.
I shouldn't. Shouldn't. This is so interesting. Before we went out there and played Somerset, our host, James, he goes, Frank, what's your handicap now? And I'm like, I'm a 9 now. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah,
he goes, okay, you're a 12 here. And I go, what? Well, first of all, it's the first time playing the course, but it's also incredibly difficult course. So now think about this for a second. Par 72, just rough math.
Was it a 72 or 71?
Okay. I'm not sure what it was. So let's just use the example of you're out there playing a traditional par 72, and let's say you're a 9 handicap.
Mm-hmm.
So that means 9 handicap, you should shoot, 81 would be playing to your handicap.
Right.
I should not say you should shoot, and I'll tell you why in a second. Now, 12, so that's what, 84?
Mm-hmm.
So playing to my handicap that day should have been 84.
Yep.
I had what I thought was a bad round for me, because when I look at the card, 90.
Yep. You haven't seen a 9 handle in a while.
I have not seen a 9 handle in a while. But now I'm thinking back, what should I have expected? I did a little digging, and according to stats and stuff like that, you should play to your handicap once every 4 or 5 rounds. Here I am thinking I should be playing that way every time.
Yeah.
But no, that's not the reality. The handicap is not the average score you shoot. It's what you're capable of.
Yeah.
So it means as a 9 handicap, I'm capable of going out there and shooting an 81. If I shoot better, I beat my handicap, which happens even less often.
Right.
If I shoot worse, I didn't play to my handicap. But out of that, so think about that, 6 times out of 10, you're going to play worse than your handicap.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, and makes me think like, well, maybe that wasn't the disaster that I thought it was.
Is there a stat for amount of times you should play better, beat it? Like better than?
I'm sure there is. I'd have to Google it. If anyone knows off the top of their head, or put it in the comments. But it's certainly less than 1 out of every 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's saying like maybe 1 out of 10, 1 out of 9 times you play better than your handicap. So I think it's by recalibrating that a little bit, be like, okay, I'm not falling apart.
Right.
I'm not slumping. I just had one of those rounds where I don't play to my handicap.
Yeah. When you break it all down like that, it kind of makes you feel a little bit better about that.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
And I think that that's part of what we do to ourselves as amateur regular golfers is we set our expectations way too high.
Yeah.
We're not grinding 8 hours a day like PGA Tour pros. We are not warming up for 2-3 hours. Who was it we had on the podcast who was talking about Jordan Spieth's warm up is 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm trying to remember. We've had a lot of great coaches on the show.
Troy Van Beason?
Troy Van Beason, right. And all these guys, it was 2 hours to 2.5 hours are their warm-up.
Yeah.
Right? We don't warm up like that. We don't practice like that. I don't practice bunker shots. Why do I expect to be good out of the bunker?
I know.
I have to recalibrate that. But I also have to, when I'm bad, use it as a learning experience. Like, I know I don't have a lot of time to practice. Let me put my practice into this. So it's just like, don't be so hard on yourself is the way to say this in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it in generalities, but in your particular situation, last couple of times, we've been carrying a little bit more baggage. We're filming.
Well, yeah.
We're filming. We're walking. It's hot. It's like 90 degrees in the Northeast. So I think a lot of those strokes were also as a result of that. Yeah. Our host, James at Somerset, he saw it right away, and he kept saying, he told me, he told you, he's like, Mike, I got to get you guys back here without cameras in the fall to just enjoy the golf.
Yeah.
And you watch. You'll go out there and you'll shoot like 79, 81, 82, whatever.
I hope so.
And
I would love
epic.
that redemption.
I know.
But yeah, the other thing that most tour players are not doing during their rounds is playing while having a drone controller in their hand.
Yeah.
And
they
flying
don't have
a drone.
And then let me put
but
this
hey,
on,
we
set up
do
this
it
guy.
because we love creating the content and we enjoy it. But listen, like I said, I'm going to take it away as a learning experience. I'm going to say to myself, even if I can learn one little thing and get a little bit better, if I got 1% better from each bad round, over time, that's going to compound and make me a much better golfer in the long run.
It's brilliant.
So it's like, again, I got to find these ways to be like, even though I built up expectations, I couldn't wait to play the course. I may never play the course again, and I didn't play well that day. That's a recipe for hanging your head. I got to just look at it a little bit differently and see, if that changes things for you. So that said, let's do a quick break. We're going to do a word from our sponsors, and then I want to jump back in, and I want to give you guys a very important update. We're going to talk about our upcoming indoor tournament at Golf Zone.
Not many spots left, I hear.
There are not.
No.
So if you're going to want to get registered, we'll get you all the information. If you are registered, we'll tell you a little bit more about what we've got for you so far, including picking out that big trophy.
Yeah, I need your help with this, guys.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into that in just a second. Let's do a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll hop over to it. Guys, the Vokey Design SM9 wedges are products of superior handcrafted technology, and each one is an instrument of creative control. And Mike, I was really enjoying just kind of in the back of my mind counting how many guys were using the new SM9s at the Open Championship, and it was quite a few. And there's a reason for it. They're created from the most advanced materials. They're engineered to deliver ideal flight and spin, and with grinds designed to release your best wedge play possible. So there's many ways to make a wedge, but there's only one way to make a Vokey. Titleist Vokey Design SM9 wedges, superior handcrafted technology. Find yours at Vokey.com.
FootJoy is the #1 shoe in golf because they offer the widest selection of sizes, styles, and performance options of any golf shoe out there. Whether it's the all-new Hyperflex and Hyperflex Carbon, and by the way, these things are pretty dope too. Hyperflex trainers.
I've been wearing them off the course everywhere.
I know.
We're both wearing them.
We're both wearing them today. That's so great. So these shoes are finely tuned to power your game, and even that Premier Series. Don't forget about the Premier Series. Still one of my favorites. It's a shoe that's far and away the choice of more tour players than any other shoe, worn by people like Justin Thomas, Max Homa, Will Zalatoris, Cam Young, Jessica Korda, and many, many more. Trust the brand that's been #1 forever, and trust your game to FootJoy, the #1 shoe in golf.
And how sick did those Harris Tweed collabs look
what a
out
cool
there?
looking collab.
It's just like such a perfect fit for the Open every year.
It is.
And I'm sure there's only just a few left. Those collabs sell out quick, so go check them out, footjoy.com.
And a big thanks to Rapsodo. Obviously, we've been talking about them all year and loving the MLM2 Pro.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to shout out just a few of my favorite features. And one is that shot dispersion feature. And you could show an aerial view of your shot dispersion for deeper insights into how you hit the ball with each of your clubs. And it gives you more confidence with club selection on the course. So that one is great.
And target selection.
If
you know your dispersion is right on one club a lot, it's not always necessarily changing your swing. It's just kind of changing your target selection, and just knowing your game.
Exactly.
And you learn your game when you've got a launch monitor.
Exactly. That's it. And you learn the game by practicing. And with Rapsodo Combines, it's their award-winning combines. It lets you evaluate your entire game on the range, and you can do it so fast. You could do the whole thing in about 20 minutes, which I love. And you should do this every day to get better. So you prioritize the areas for improvement, and you create more informed, smarter practice plans than just whacking a bunch of golf balls out there. And then lastly, it's just like insights galore, this thing. I mean, I'm just going to shout out a couple that you get: carry, side carry, ball speed, launch direction, total yards. And I mean, with the new RPT balls that come with it, you get things like spin rate, spin axis, descent angle. I mean, you can really dissect everything about your game. So check it out for yourself. Go to rapsodo.com. Check out the MLM2 Pro. Get it. It's $700. It might be the best buy for your golf game ever. Go check it out and let us know what you think of it.
All right, so our tournament at Golf Zone. It's going to be at Golf Zone Social. It's in West Nyack. It's at the Palisades Mall there. It's, what would you say, 45 minutes from the city?
40 from the city.
From New York City?
It's 45 from Stamford, Connecticut.
Yeah. And we've got people registered from pretty far away driving in for this
Pennsylvania,
thing.
people coming in from. Yep.
For sure. So one thing we announced this a couple weeks ago, if you've just first hearing about it now, make sure you get registered. You can go to golficity.com/register. It's going to be an indoor tournament. We're going to have big prizes. We're going to be doing both stroke. It's going to be stroke play. We're going to have both net and gross scoreboards. You don't have to have a handicap. We're going to use the Peoria system, meaning we're going to calculate your handicap based on how you play that day. And these are, without a doubt, and this is why we wanted to do this, the most realistic indoor golf experience we've ever had.
Yeah, hands down.
You really got to try these simulators to understand it. There's zero latency, meaning you hit the ball and instantly you see the ball flight on the screen. It's not like you hit and you wait and then you get a reading. It's multiple cameras are reading the ball conditions, the club conditions, super, super accurate. And what's most wild about this is the entire floor moves to simulate all the different lies. So we're going to be taking on Bethpage Black, which you know is going to have plenty of elevation changes, crazy lies. You're going to get to experience all of them in the simulator, which I think is absolutely wild.
Yeah.
And we've even got different lie conditions for bunkers, greenside bunkers, fairway bunkers, the rough. It's all there. And the system is hyper accurate, meaning no cheating. We're going to be able to see every stroke. And on top of that, we play it all the way to the cup. The putting is great on these sims. So it's really cool. I would even advise, if you want to take it seriously, if you're in the area, get in there to Golf Zone and maybe get a practice round in, talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, get used to it. Because tell them about the trophy. The
trophy, I mean, we're trying to do an epic trophy for this. So we're in the process we're in the research process.
Yes.
I mean, I've been getting lost in there, and we can go like the crystal route, the metal cup route. I thought we might get weird and go like the Zozo route. I don't know which way we're gonna go. So like, we need your help. Like, what kind? I mean,
G?
The G something. Yeah, that could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like the big G. One of our guys, Eddie, was saying to get a wrestling belt or something. But I think we got to go actual trophy hardware. We'll figure it out. But help us out. What do you think we should get for this?
I feel like the belts are reserved for the long drive.
They should be. They should
belts,
stay
long drive. Trophies, tournaments.
Yeah.
And we want to hear you guys what you think. And maybe we'll put a poll up for that too. But for now, drop in the comments. What do you think? You thinking crystal? You thinking
Yeah, let me.
Metal hardware. What should we do? And let us know, because we want this to be pretty epic.
I want it to be real deal, none of this fake plastic type stuff. I want it to be a real legit trophy that, I don't know, you could be proud of. You could come back every year and do it. And you and I are not going to be playing in the tournament. We're just going to be kind of hosting.
Host, commissioner.
We're commissioner. We're going to be walking around trying to pop into all the sims. There's 22 sims. You know, we're trying to get 66, which I think we're going to get easily. We're so close.
Yeah, we feel like 66 is probably our max if we put 3 per sim, 22
We got the whole
sims.
place there.
Yeah.
But don't let
22
that,
simulators.
It's ridiculous. And if you're not playing and it's a spouse, bring them. It's a cool hangout.
Yeah.
They could probably fit 100 plus there.
Well, and don't let it stop you from registering, because most likely if we go over our number, we will have some alternates. And if someone doesn't show up or whatever, you can get in. But like Mike was saying, even if you're not playing, or even if you don't want to play, in competition and just want to be there, we're also treating this as a meetup. So we'll be there all day. We're gonna have we're just gonna have fun. You've got drinks, food. There's gonna be some hors d'oeuvres that
Ryder Cup all over the TVs.
Ryder Cup, and get this too. Registration is just $25. And if you register, it comes with a round of golf, which would cost you more to play a round in the simulator than that.
Yep.
If you otherwise, so you're already ahead of the game.
Because the round is going to take how long? 3 to 4 hours, like a normal round?
We think with 3 on a sim, it's going to probably take an hour and a half to 2 hours for a round. I think it moves much faster in a sim because you're not walking.
Let's call it 2.5 hours.
Okay.
Let's just call it that. Okay.
So 2.5 hours, you're paying for that in the sim.
That's an hour and that's $150.
Yeah. So you're
Sim
already
time.
way ahead of the game. And on top of that, Golf Zone Social is going to be providing some hors d'oeuvres. There will be a cash bar. There's also a full menu. The menu there is fire if you want to order something.
Corn salsa dip, right?
The corn salsa dip you
That's
cannot
something else.
miss. Yeah, you cannot miss
Uh-huh.
it. So it's going to be a great day. But like I said, get registered. And if you are registered, I'm just going to ask one thing: is like you really hold to it, because it could be taking up someone else's spot. If you're not able to make it after you register, just make sure you let us know, and that way we can kind of take you off the list, because we're really going to hold to it. And then we're asking handicaps, because we're going to try to pair similar handicaps together just to keep the flow of it moving.
Details still, because I've even gotten some questions from people like, can I play with a buddy, or like I'm bringing my son, I'd love to play with them. And you know what, Golf Zone Social, they're going to handle all that. They're going to be putting all that together. So there's going to be a ton of details coming. And I think with Ryder Cup being in Italy, 5 hours ahead, I have a feeling this could be something that can happen during day, and we can even wrap up like not too late in the day.
Yeah.
So if you're driving 2-3 hours home, some of you are.
We will give you guys the final timing.
Yep.
We haven't ironed all that out yet. We just wanted to get the date out and get stuff that out there so everyone can get registered. But like Mike said, we're leaning on, like, they're the tournament experts, Golf Zone Social, so they're going to be running a lot of that. We're just going to be there to assist, see everybody and just basically get the word out.
And we're going to host one epic trophy ceremony. Can't wait for that.
Yeah. Not to mention, I can't believe we're kind of glancing over this, but the prizes.
Yes.
We've already got like $2,000 worth of prizes.
We just started.
And so that prize pot could go way up. Now, one thing I will say, we are not hosting the virtual open this year. A lot of you have reached out and asked about it. Understandably so. It's been a lot of fun running it these multiple years. I'm not saying it's gone forever, but this year we really wanted something that got people together physically, and we just don't honestly have the resources to run 2 big tournaments in the same time frame. We usually run at end of summer, and it would just be an over ask to try to ask all the prize sponsors to donate to both.
Yeah.
So we figure, well, let's put all of our resources into one. And like I said, the virtual open, I know some of you will miss it. We'll miss it as well. And we wish we could do everything. But we're going to do what we can with the resources that we have. And we're going to make this as great as we can make it. And we really want to put it out there way in advance. It's September 30th, way in advance. So you guys can mark your calendars and get here for it, because it's going to be a lot of fun. And if it really works out the way we think it's going to, we're going to try to do these more often.
Yes, definitely.
So be aware of that. But if you're not already registered, go to golficity.com/register. The details are there. You register on the form. You don't have to pay yet. You're going to pay at the door when you get there. It's $25 per person. It's money well spent, trust me, and we're going to have a good time. So,
yeah, I mean, what was the only negative thing about our last meetup, and so many people, great people came, is there was 3 bays, and it was just like you hop in when you wanted to take a couple shots.
Right.
Like, this is like you're playing the whole time you're there, tournament, I think it's going to be so.
You're
much
getting 18 holes in at Bethpage Black
On the best technology.
sim that's out
I know,
there. So
I know.
you're going to enjoy it. So we'll see you guys there. Make sure you get registered. Go to golficity.com/register to register, and we'll see you next week.